Good evening to those of you who are in-house and those of you watching online to the latest edition of the River Falls Sustainability Speaker Series. We got a really good presenter tonight, so I'm really excited about this. My name is Mike Noreen, and I'm one of the organizers of the River Falls Sustainability Speakers Series. And if you've liked what you've seen and you've been curious about some other options and what's out there, and you know of some ideas or you know of some people who might be of interest, we're open to those ideas. So please come see us after the presentation if you have some ideas. Before we get to the presentation, I would like to recognize our sponsors, our three sponsors. First is River Falls Public Library. It's been a great sponsor and partner of the speaker series in both in their room, their talent, and their technology. So thank you, River Falls Public Library. The other one is the UW River Falls Office of Sustainability, doing some great work and with a very talented staff and collection of students. So thank you. And the other one is Hope for Earth. Hope for Earth is a local nonprofit, which I'm representing tonight. And our mission in Hope for Earth is to create a hopeful, ecologically sustainable future through education, partnerships, collaboration, advocacy, and action. So if that's something that resonates with you and you would like to be more involved with us, we encourage it. We're looking for more active people. And so you can sign up back there. We have a sign up and we'll have a link online. And you can get more involved and at a minimum, stay informed of what we're doing. So before we get to the presentation, I want to share with you also a couple of events that are coming up. And one is next speaker in the Sustainability Speaker Series in May is our retired County Extension Agent, Diana Alputh, who will be doing a presentation on climate resilient yards. And she always draws a big crowd. That one, May 1st. Thank you. Yeah. And then the other one, a big event that is coming up is Earth Fest on April 26th. And a lot of you know about this or are involved. Earth Fest is our big Earth Day event that we have in River Falls. It's from 2 to 4, 9 days from now, on Saturday at 12. 2 to 4. Yeah, 2 to 4. Noon to 4, sorry, thank you. And it's on campus, and it's free, and it's open to everybody. And we encourage you to come. We've got all kinds of great things. We have free samples of food from local food, where you get to meet your farmer. The entertainment section, we've got at 11 o'clock a pre-show, and that is the Menominee Potawatomi Drum Circle and Salute to Veterans. And so we have these flyers here. It should be great. It's in the Falcon Center at the University Center. And if you needed more information, they're back there. But some of the other entertainment that we have is we have a forager chef on stage. We have a trash-in show. Trash and show. Yep. And that's from 1 to 2, and it's going to be awesome. They've got, I'm not going to give it away, but they've got some just outstanding outfits. So come and take a look. And then we are also part of the River Falls Bluegrass Festival. So we have a bluegrass band playing from 2 to 4. Activities, we got tons of activities for people of all ages, and kids activities inside and out. We puppies and ponies and painting, and it'll be great. There'll be all kinds of great things there. And I won't be able to name them all because we got so much going on, including over 100 different exhibitors and organizations that are going to be present, as well as electric vehicle charging stations and information. So it's good. It's a great event, but also plan ahead, because we do have a clothing swap. So I encourage you to bring a few items of clothing that you can swap. You can get some new ones or get some used ones. We do well water testing, whether it's you're out in the country or if you want to test your city water, you can do that. And also bring your batteries. So we do recycle those batteries. So I encourage you to come to Earth Fest on April 26th from noon to 4 at the University Center. So with that, we're going to, I have to read this because it's great. Our next guest might be burned into your memory from her days in WCCO TV, chasing tornadoes, talking hurricanes, and occasionally flipping a coin for the forecast. But when the weather calmed down, she was out in the garden, getting her hands dirty on the airwaves. That little garden gig, yeah, it blossomed into a nationally syndicated show, Rebecca's Garden, a magazine, a book, and even a spot on Good Morning America as a meteorologist and garden and lifestyle guru. These days, she's still digging in, but now she's rebuilding American soil one scoop of biochar at a time as a partner in Revived Soils. And if that doesn't make you want to light a cigarette and whisper, damn, then her topic today just might, So give it up for Rebecca Kolls.
I'm good. Okay. How's everybody tonight? I figured, I just knew the faces that would show up tonight. All of those that are very comfortable about the subject I'm about to talk about. And let me just make sure I got this all set up properly because I can tell already I've messed it up. There we go. Okay, I want to stop there and then I go right. Okay, so yeah, you heard all about things I do. I just turned 64 years old this year. I'm starting to think about Medicare if it's still there. But the one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older is I'm much more busier than I ever was back in the day when I was working a bunch of jobs. But the one thing that has stayed true to my heart, to my passion, is the idea of Steve. Hey. Big house, go to Steve. I love getting my hands dirty. I have been digging in the dirt as long as I ever can remember. I used to eat dirt as a child, which I know there's a psychological bent on something like that, but it's something that has been near and dear to my heart. And still today, I am out there trying to concoct something and grow things and make it pretty. But something that's real interesting that has happened, because now that I'm older and I got more time and I'm thinking about the garden, is that, I'm just going to say, I've been thinking about sex in the garden. I mean, it's one of those things where it kind of started coming up and I kind of let it go. And I noticed I would wake up in the morning thinking about sex in the garden. And then it was the nooner, sex in the garden. And then a little after fly. And then I got into sizzle at supper time and it was just constant. And then it was like midnight, sex in the garden. Oh, wait. You guys don't think I'm talking about me having sex in it, right? I mean, that's not what I'm alluding to, right? I am talking about what is going on in your garden, in your backyard, in the front yard, in your lawns every single day. And whether you like it or not, somebody is shagging in the greenhouse. And in the flowers, they're flirting. Yep, they are. And I'm sure they're hooking up in the vegetable garden because nature is getting it on 24/7, whether you know it or not. In fact, it's happening all day long. We have this sultry symphony of birds and bees and butterflies in disguise and pollinators of all shapes and sizes coming into the garden, hoping for a nice, tasty drink of nectar or maybe some pollen-laden protein. But they're coming in, and little do they know, they are fertilizing plants as they're in the making. This is happening all day long. And then while you're dreaming at night, sex never stops. It keeps going. In fact, at midnight, the moths are rendezvousing. We know that fireflies are lighting up the moonlit skies with flirtatious flashes, looking for someone to pollinate. And then we've got the bats. I'm sorry, she had a bat. She tripped in today. We have bats who are flying through the dark skies, chasing the scent of desire. Nature is wild. And she is trying to get it on 24/7. It is happening right under our nose. And the whole purpose, if you're a pollinator, you want is a free drink or a meal. That's it. But if you're a plant or a flower, You want fertilization because you want to be able to pass your seeds to the next generation. You want that DNA love line to continue. And what's interesting about what happens here is that it's not just one pollinator that a plant needs. In fact, it takes two to tango. We know that for sure. And before we go any further, I think it's really important that we stop and tiptoe into this delicate little conversation about the birds and the bees, or the petals and the pollen, as it would be. So first of all, let's take a look at a plant and see what a plant needs. And this is what is called a bisexual flower. 90% of the flowers in our gardens like this. And basically what that means is there are male parts and there are female parts, right? So we'll start with the guys. Meet the stamens, right? So in that reproductive structure, we have what's called a filament. And you can see, you've seen it before when you look down the throat of a flower, that long, stringy little piece of silk, it almost looks like, very strong. It's anchored in the bottom of this flower. And the whole purpose of that filament is to hold the anther nice and strong. Just hold it, balance it, keep it there. And when we look at the anther, the thing you got to know about anthers is, number one, it's the most critical part of the male reproductive structure. And anthers, if you look closely, they're not all created equal. Now, some are long and bold, others lean with intention, and then there's some that, well, are just unusual and don't look like the others. But they all serve the same purpose, and that is they hold the promise to the next generation. They produce and they store pollen. Very critical. This is important. And I know what you're thinking, girls. Gosh dang it, we need those guys, don't we? Yeah, we do. Because without pollen, fruits and vegetables would not exist. We need pollen for fertilization, right? Okay, so let's see what the ladies have to do in this part of the world. So we've got the female reproductive structure. The thing that's most important here is the tall stigma in the center. And you've seen these before. That stigma needs to collect the pollen in order for fertilization to take place, right? That's easy enough. But here's the problem. Now, if you're an engineer, and I know there's a couple of guys in here and women, take a look at the flower. So you've got the anthers loaded up with pollen. You've got the stigma ready. She is ready and waiting. Get the pollen from there to there. Can't do it alone, unfortunately. The stigma can't bend over and kiss the anther. The anther can't throw it up in her face and call it a day and let the magic happen. You need a third party to get in there, mix it up, pick up the goods, deliver the goods, call it a day. So that's when we bring in the pollinators. Now, when we talk about pollinators, the flowers have particular choices, but the deal is they can't go to the bar to pick their partner. They can't sweat it out at the gym or make Google eyes in the church pews trying to decide who is right for them. In fact, if we're honest, well, commitment type. Flowers are floozies, if I'm honest. Meaning that they just want a quickie. They want a midnight rendezvous. They want slam, bam, thank you, mom, move on your way. They're not looking for one lover. They're looking for as many as they can get. So if you're a flower, looking for love is kind of hard because you're rooted in like boots in concrete. So you can't just walk over across the street, go, yeah, over here. You're standing there trying to attract attention. Now, if you're a flower in a leafy situation with a lot of competition, you somehow got to stand out of the crowd and attract the pollinators. Come on, this way. Well, this is where brand recognition comes into play. And we all know brand recognition. We look at this logo and you know exactly when you go into this store, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, right? What do you think of when you see this logo? Shout it out.
Red shirt.
Red shirts, clean aisles, well lit, matching socks. Imagine that. And you're going to walk out with $200 worth of crap you didn't need, right? That's brand recognition. It works. And we know when to go in there, what we're going to get out of that place. And flowers aren't much different. Nature has created brand recognition as well. In fact, you're a bee with a penchant for white over red. You're looking at that flower center like, that is a jackpot there. And so all of this, every day, nature has blooming billboards that are sexy, that are basically trying to attract and lure in these pollinators. So what is interesting about the way attraction starts is it's evolved over millions of years. Nature has her kind of wicked little sexy strategies in order to bring the pollinators in. And every flower has a different mechanism that they use to bring in the pollinator. And the most easiest one to start with, the opening act, is the visual cues. And if you're out in the garden, you see something like this. I mean, come on. Who can't be in love with this iris, right? Look how curvy it is, very sexy and sultry. But look closer at the visual cues that are bringing in the pollinators. Notice the lines on the bottom of the petal. They're wide, but they go in gently, guiding you into the back of the bar where all the nectar is stored. And on top of everything else, notice the nice golden carpet they've laid out. So, my carpet. Well, that's what the pollinators do. And as they're tiptoeing, static electricity takes place, pollen leaves, pollen collects, and the bee goes back just excited to have a drink. And little does the bee or the pollinator know that they have just committed the act of sex. And so the fertilization process takes place. So when you look at flowers, we look at them and go, wow, they're so beautiful. Aren't they beautiful? Oh, look how nice. Well, they all have a purpose. These flowers didn't just happen. They have evolved specifically for certain pollinators. Pollinators looking for contrasting colors, like the bees. We know they like that. Again, we've got the guidelines that are just like a landing pad at an airport, guide you right in to where the magic is at the end, the throat of these flowers. And then, of course, we have the little snapdragons below, or not the snapdragons, the foxglove, with strategically placed spots. And notice how the spots, just like a path, guide you right back to the back of the flower, which helps the flower get pollinated. So this didn't just happen because nature wanted to be pretty. Each one of these flowers and these designs have a purpose. So when you're out and about, look at the flower and try to decide, like, what is it about this flower that is going to attract this pollinator? Now, when we take a look at snapdragons, they're a perfect example of a visual cue. They also smell rather sweet, so that actually is an attraction. This is another example of how Mother Nature has engineered a flower to specifically allow one sort of pollinator in, the rest, you're locked out. Now, we all know what these little flowers do when we open their mouths, right? The snapdragon. How are you there? How are you doing? So you know, it's got that jaw down below that opens up. That jaw is on a hinge. And what nature has done over time is that hinge only opens when the weight of a bumblebee lands on top of it. And I think we figured it out. It was 1/300,000th of a pound. Right? Is that right? Right? Yeah, he's the math guy, right? Something like that. Anyway, so a bumblebee lines on, open sesame, come to, and in goes the bumblebee. Anything else? Sorry, this is a private club. So why would a bumblebee want to go in there? Well, first of all, take a look at the position. I mean, if that's not doing it, then what is, right? Bee doesn't know it. Bee doesn't care. The bee just wants sweet rewards that come from entering a beautiful flower like that. Am I moving too much? Okay. All right. Also, take a look at how some flowers have made it easy for pollinators. They have landing pads, they have perches, so yeah, and have on my flower petal. Make it easy for you to get a drink. I'll make it easy for you to touch my pollen. And certainly that's what the pollinators do. Shape is another attractant, a visual cue to pollinators. We know that anything that is disc-shaped or slightly curved brings in the beetles. Hummingbirds, look at their long beak. Their long beak is good for pulling out nectar in tubular flowers. And of course, when the hummingbird goes in, rubs up against pollen that's on the feathers, also on the end of the beak, so that the next flower this hummingbird visits will transfer the goods. And while it's inside trying to get a drink, it's going to rub up against the stigma. And by the way, the stigma on the top has a sticky residue, almost like super glue. If you're pollen, you get stuck on there and you're there for good. And that's, of course, what starts the process of pollination. Okay. Also, so we talked about evolution, how these flowers have evolved over time. Probably the best example, and I love this one, is the spider lily. So, interesting story about this. In 1862, scientists were out in Madagascar and they come across this lily. And they're looking at the lily, they're trying to figure out how in the world is this lily getting pollinated. They couldn't find a pollinator. So, who do they send it to? Darwin. And they said, hey, and this is exactly what they wrote in the letter. We want to know what you think is pollinating this flower. And he came back immediately and said, oh, I can tell you, it's a moth with a proboscis of about 12, 13 inches, a tongue that comes out. Scientists thought he was crazy. They literally thought he was off his rocker because they knew nothing existed like that. Nobody ever saw one like that. And remember, if you're a white flower with a moth, you're getting pollinated in the middle of the night, where probably most scientists aren't really camping out next to the flowers. Well, so Darwin is nuts. Everybody thinks he's crazy, only to find out that maybe he wasn't. Literally 4 decades later, the hawk moth, which is the only pollinator to the star orchid, is discovered. And hello there, look at that tongue. The average is about 12 to 13 inches, just like Darwin said. Okay, so that's a little bit about evolution, although you'll see it in everything I say. Scent, of course, is another thing that's a great attractant for flowers. And it is amazing that flowers will produce scents specifically for their pollinator. It's a volatile compound of like essential oils, but they also will produce pheromones that smell, or scents that smell like pheromones of females. So males, of course, always trying to get some, are coming up to the flowers. And this is what we see in nature on all different kinds of flowers. So we have the lavender flower. Oh, it smells so good. And the butterflies just go crazy in the scent of lavender. So when they smell it, they come running because they know that breakfast is at the end of those tiny little buds. Also, bee balm is another one that smells good. But not all flowers smell great. We've got a lot that stink up a storm. All right. So think of when you're out barbecuing, so I don't care what you're doing. Maybe it's trash on the side of the road. You've got rotting meat, you've got rotting fruit. What's the first thing that comes to the rotting pile? Flies. Flies get no respect. Okay. They are massive pollinators. They are not accepted like the bumblebee, how pretty, and we celebrate the bumblebees, but not the flies. What do? We grab a fly swatter. Well, what's really interesting about flies and the pollen and the plants that need them for pollination is that these plants will produce an odor that is stanky and can be smelled from 8 to 10 miles away. Flies come running because when they smell that rotting meat, that rotting organic matter, the females want to lay eggs. That's a trigger. I can go to these places, lay the eggs, and my larva will eat the rotting carcass, and the line of the flies continues. But in the process, what's happening with these flowers is that they're actually going in, laying eggs, and as they're moving around, they're picking up pollen, they're releasing pollen, and the plants that stink get pollinated by the flies. And Jack in the Pulpit, if you've ever smelled in your garden, take a whiff of that thing. What is it? Yeah, what speaks? And what's really cool too is if any of you like chocolate, Claudia, it only flies are the only pollinator to the cacao tree. So we got to keep these guys around, right? Okay, so we talked about rewards, and that's really something that's real easy. All the flowers are offering, friends with benefits, if you want to call it. You come in, I'll give you a free drink. Or how about if I give you some nice protein to take home with you? So, yeah, that is an ecstatic feeling right here. And we know that these, again, this is the golden ticket for pollination. This is what's going to allow us to eat our fruits, our veggies, and of course, get seeds for the next plants that we want to grow. Now, some plants have, I'm going to say, lowered themselves to really mimic and use deceit to bring in their lovers. They will pull out all the stops and will do anything they can. So here we have a bee orchid. Now, to us, it probably looks kind of like an orchid, but closely. I mean, if you're a male bee, you see this velvety lip that, by the way, smells like a female. The males get all hot. They come in, go straight for the inside, right? Thinking they're going to get lucky. They get inside, they're freaking out because they don't know what's going on. As they're freaking out, they're pushing pollen all around. They're picking up pollen. They leave exhausted. They got no rewards. They got no sex. They're just frustrated. And off they go. But they continue to do this because they continue to smell that female. So that is a great way to bring in a pollinator. This one is one of my favorites. This is the hammer orchid. Now, again, I want you to think of the evolution and the engineering of how this pollination process works on this plant. So the hammer orchid blooms this awkward little bloom that looks exactly like a tinted wasp. Now, or tinted wasp. It looks like the female. There's no wings because the female is flightless. But the deal is, this blooms precisely the time that the tinted wasps emerge. It's uncanny. So the male wasps come out. This smells, number one, like a female. It looks like the female, but because she's flightless, she just hangs there on a branch, on a stick, on a limb, waiting for her suitor, a hot male, to come in, grab her, take her in the sky so they can make the Mile High Club, and then she comes back and lays her eggs, right? So this flower sits there, puts out the scents, looks like a girl. In comes the male. He's like, today's my lucky day. He sees this beautiful little wasp. He goes in to wrap himself around her. Almost like magic, a hinge in the hammer orchid is released, not really, but there is a reaction, a trigger, so that the hornet or the wasp is forced back, flipped over on his thorax. Now look, he's rubbed all up against the female. He's got pollen all over his belly. He is flipped over on top of the stigma, where now more pollen's getting mixed up. He's leaving some, taking some. Everybody's happy except for he, because he, again, is duped. He gets nothing. No treats, no action, just a frustrated old wasp. And then finally, there is entrapment. And this is actually really cool when you can see there's all kinds of videos of everything that I've showed here, but the big giant lilies that you see, like we don't grow them, although they do have some down at the conservatory, but the massive, huge ones, literally, they will curl up when tiny beetles get on top of them. They'll close up for the night because that will ensure they'll have pollination in the morning. When it opens up and these beetles are hungry, they go to the flower. But that's just one thing. There is the lady slipper. This is like Hotel California. Come on in. I'll let you in where you enter and you not get out. So what happens is the lady slipper lures in her lovers with color, with different shapes and scents. The pollinator goes to the front door, and then he's in the lobe of this flower, and he can't get out. The trap door. He's like, wait, what's here? He's bouncing around, and again, static electricity is happening. Pollen is flying all over the place. The flower gets fertilized, and then he exits out the back door if he's lucky and has done his deed. So that is another way. This is also really interesting. So this is the catasetum orchid, and they're devious of all the plants. They've got stories to tell. There is some interesting history here. But so what happens is the pollinator flies in, has to go way back because the bar is in the back. And while it's there, and I was going to put this on, but I'm always afraid the videos will work. But you can see this like arm right there that sits up on top of the flower. So as it comes in, it's going back to take a drink. This arm comes in and slaps him. Wow. The back of him. It takes pollen. It also puts a pollen patch on him so that when he leaves and visits the next one, the same thing happens. And of course, you have fertilization that takes place. So there it is. Now they've got that. Okay, so that's just a little bit about sex in the garden. The big question is, why should you care? So tonight, if you're going to do some midnight snacking, or tomorrow when you have breakfast, think of every third bite of food you eat is a result of a plant that's been pollinated. So we have to protect these guys. It's really important. You know, if you were to show most people just these images, what's the first thing they're going to do? Go in, they run to the store, spray them, they pour acid over it. I don't know what they're doing with it. When in fact, beetles, number one of the oldest pollinators, they believe, as important as the bumblebees and the flies, and because there's so many varieties of beetles, they probably pollinate more, except they're not as efficient as bumblebees. So we have to respect these guys. And the problem is that we are so trained to believe that only the most perfect gardens are the most beautiful. We see it in magazines, we see it on TV. You can't have clover in your lawn, for heaven's sakes. Clover? Not even dandelions. So what's the first thing people do? They arm themselves with toxic chemicals. They use herbicides, they use pesticides, they wipe out all these precious pollinators. And when they go, our chances of food, of beauty goes with it. And we really have to be more conscientious about what we're doing, because we want to be able to create these seductive places. We want to encourage sex in the garden. We want it to happen. It's going to, whether we like it or not. But by growing green and thinking of living in harmony with nature, you have the opportunity to have beautiful spaces, but safe spaces for everyone, and spaces that continue to produce for us. And, you know, living is in harmony. I mean, look, I think you'll agree. It's rather sexy and hot. So there you go. Sex in the garden will never be the same. You'll never walk in a garden without remembering our conversation this night. You'll think about it. You all will. Look at the throats of these flowers. Put your nose in the flower. Take a whiff. Just be careful that a bee is not inside. But then you will appreciate what nature is giving us and how we can help give back and protect what is so near and dear to all of us. I have time for questions. I might be able to answer them. If I can't, I won't. Or I'll fake it.
So if you have beetles that are actually eating your plants.
So that's what they do. Well, I'm sorry, I jumped in. I finished.
No, so like raspberries, if you get them all over your raspberries
Yeah.
and they're starting to, what's the best way to lure them away?
Well, first of all, everybody thinks beetles are bad for that reason, because they are messy pollinators. Wherever they go, they're eating through flowers. They're eating through your raspberries. So the first thing I would do is take a look at that beetle and look it up and identify it, find out what its predators are, if that's possible, and then think of other ways, and they'll all be listed because every beetle is going to be different. Japanese beetles, they're beautiful. I hate those guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to do any blanket statement. It is every beetle is different. Look it up, figure out what you need to do. And oftentimes there's easy, simple solutions to be able to protect your raspberries. But they just want to lay eggs. Hopefully, and if they're eating your fruit, then that's a problem. But they are messy, and that's why people want them out. Yes.
When a pollinator goes on a flower, does it use up all the pollen, or is there a ton of pollen for future pollinators?
Yeah. So actually what's happening is pollen is getting mixed in. Every visitor that comes, a lot of what you see is almost like Velcro. So think of the anther as Velcro. So any pollinator that comes in and rubs up against the anther is going to take some pollen that's already there, and it's going to release the pollen it already has. So it's constantly getting mixed up. It's being shared with other plants and flowers. Now, if a bee goes to, say, a snapdragon, gets the pollen from snapdragon, now if it goes to another flower, is it going to pollinate? No, most likely not, unless there's cross-pollination, and only certain flowers will allow that to happen. Some plants like tomato. Now I'm going off topic, so I'm doing the boomer thing. But peas, beans, tomatoes, they pollinate themselves. However, so bees and whatnot won't visit them. But on those plants, when you walk by, shake them up, because you will release a pollen that they have that will go to the parts that it needs to go to, and that will help fertilize those plants. So did that answer your question?
So a flower only makes a certain amount of pollen?
Yes.
And then that's it.
Well, as long as it's blooming, and once it's fertilized, it's done. That's all. Well, yeah, you know when a plant is fertilized, because it's like, okay, see you later, and then what follows? Seeds. Yeah. I mean, when you really think about it, and just a few of these examples, and these examples are all over, it will drive you mad to think how evolution has created this symbiotic relationship between plants and the pollinators, and everything over time, and we're talking millions of years, everything over time has changed to support each other. Just like they think they're studying digits now, because they believe that, when we look at the fingers of people down the road, the digits are not going to be as rounded and nice as they are now. They're going to be all pointy because we will have evolved. It's things like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about biochar?
Biochar. Okay, so so because I have no time in my life, or so much time in my life, full-time job, I started another company with two other guys, and it's called Revive Soils. So we started with biochar. So if you're in the Amazon basin, it has the most fertile soil in the world. And when scientists have done core samples of the soil, they find that when they go, so deep, there is this charred layer of soil that sequesters carbon, by the way. It's nutrient rich, it's moist, and there is a ton of microbial activity there. And so biochar basically is taking organic matter, you put it in special ovens that heat up to 900 to 1200 degrees. It pulls out all the oxygen and literally takes all this biomass that would be sitting out in fields, releasing methane into the atmosphere, creating more greenhouse gases. And so you burn it down to what looks like charcoal. Now, your eye can't see the structure of biochar, but if you were to blow it up, it looks like honeycomb. And so when you put that into the root zone of a plant, if you're tilling up your soil, you add that in, get it down about 4 to 6 inches. Every time you water, it's almost like those moisture retaining beads, but it's natural. So it helps retain moisture. It helps fertilizers from leaching through the soil. So it kind of hangs on to fertilizers. So the plant will get it as it needs it. And because of its structure, it helps create a better tilth in the soil. So if you have compacted soils, it opens it up so that there's more oxygen down to the root system. So that's biochar. Now, the goal with this company is we've got contracts with Native American tribes up in the northern section of the United States who are growing hemp for us. So one of the partners is probably one of the biggest seed holders and patented hemp holders, or whatever the word is for hemp seeds. So we give seeds to these tribes. They grow the plants for us. We buy the seed back from them, and then we buy the harvest of the hemp. And so now I've got these in the back. If any of you guys have chickens or horses, we've created what's called cluck nuggets, which are hemp-based treats for chickens that not only help the health of the chicken, but it actually produces healthier eggs with higher omega-3 and 6s, more antioxidants. The yolk is more golden and bigger. So that's great for the chickens. We also have it for horses as well. And again, it's if you look at hemp, it's got all the nice fatty acids that you need. It has all the 9 micronutrients that are hard to get in one place. So they're very healthy and they're all organic. They're natural. And so we're doing the biochar right now with biomass. But once we get enough hemp, we will start doing biochar with hemp and kind of create this circular economy with the Native Americans in our company. And then so everything eventually will be hemp-based. We have a hemp-based fertilizer, which again is naturally nutritious. So we've got all kinds of things coming out. So watch for that. We're going to be at EarthFest. We'll have a table. We'll have samples and giveaways. And if you want to buy bigger products, you can. But hopefully, we're churning. We're trying to get it all done. Hopefully, we'll have at least something for you to sample. But I did bring they're called patty cakes for the horses and cluck nuggets for the chickens. So, yeah. So the whole point is, it kind of follows the passion. Our goal with Revive is to help rebuild American soil. So really, soil is what our goal is, and the byproduct is all this other stuff that we're making. So that's kind of our goal. Yes.
Is there anything bad for the environment because it has to be heated that high?
No, because when it's actually you say charcoal. When you think charcoal, you think the bad stuff of charcoal. No, the heat is so high that it desiccates any kind of toxicity, anything that was. So say you have a diseased tree, and another one of our goals is to try to gather up all these ash trees that are sitting in piles that are still, they can still infect. The borers are still there. We would like to take all those trees and burn them down. And with that kind of heat, you lose everything. You get a very sterile. Now, it's not a fertilizer. So it's a very sterile soil amendment to help build the soil. So there's nothing in it. And because it's made from, it reduces down to a carbon, it actually sequesters carbon. So that is a wonderful thing.
Could that take the place of like sphagnum moss or?
Yes, yes. And that kind of is our goal because we're tired of ripping out, good things for what we think is better. And it always catches up with us. So yes, now sphagnum holds 200 times its weight in water. It won't be like that because it's a different structure and it goes to the root zone. So it's a little different, but yes, that would help you eliminate the use of sphagnum. Yeah. And it might even be better because it opens up the soil to allow oxygen down. So, yeah. Yes.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you know anything about the bugs on the beetles on the previous?
The carrion beetles?
Said like 4.
Let's see.
Any of those guys you know more about?
No. I mean, no. Wait, is there one particular that you like?
One at a time.
I'm sure I'll look it up. Oh, yeah, right. That's one. No, I don't know, and I couldn't tell you which one that is. But when you see these, and there is a great app. If you don't have it, you can use it for free. Although they continue to want you to pay for it. But there is an app called Picture This. Right? Is that it, Claudia?
Does that also do insects?
Oh no, there might be an insect this. There's all kinds like mushroom this, but yeah, so you can download that and that will tell you great information that you need. Yeah. No, it's funny because I try to make sure I know everything about everything when I put this together. I go, somebody's going to ask me about this. So, yeah. Take a picture. Yeah, somebody take a picture of that. Yeah. Let's see if it works. Do you have your plant app? Yeah, pull it up. So go ahead.
Well, now that you're on this, if you have an iPhone, and you take a picture of a flower, a plant, a mushroom, the eye underneath the photo that you take, if you click on or it comes up automatic.
Info.
Yeah, it will tell you all kinds of information about that plant or whatever.
Yeah.
And you keep clicking on what's coming up, and then that gives you more information.
There you go.
Like you didn't know. I belong to a native plant class, and we learned that.
And that's cool.
We have the answer to
What is it?
Harry, the trichodes, apiarias,
Okay, so now say, what does that really mean?
but it doesn't have the name. Look it up.
That's a great tip. I like that idea. I never knew I could do that.
Pictures of.
And so I've been going into my apps and I can now.
I do both.
Yeah, that's a great
Take a
idea.
picture of it.
Okay. What do you think of neonicotinoids that a lot of people don't know about?
I don't know enough about them either. And I keep hearing about it, but I don't know enough.
Yeah, look,
But yeah,
it's systemic, and a lot of people buy their plants, and they usually put a little information sticker on it that this plant's been treated with neonicotinoids.
Yeah.
And it kills all pollinators.
Yeah, see, so I would never have anything like that in my garden. I just would.
Like I went and bought these little small fruit trees
Yeah.
at one of the places, the big box stores in Hudson. And I took it home and they had the little information thing way hidden in down by the soil. And all of my little fruit trees were treated with neonicotinoids.
How can you? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, then I called up and said, can I return these? Because I now discovered
Yeah,
because it kills all pollinators.
yeah,
It's inside the plant
sure.
and it's systemic.
Yeah, that's where engineering can, I mean, what is it that the seed that they did with corn, that what they call that, with that no, it's a seed that
Tea?
that died that you can't What did you call it?
BT.
No, no. It's like the death gene. So you can't, so farmers, I mean, look, the spirit of gardening was that you grew your crops, you collected seeds, like we're doing with Native Americans, and then you just keep planting. And so this death gene, I think it was Monsanto that created, I think it was in corn. What's that?
I said, probably.
Yeah, it was in corn. So these farmers, they're given seeds. So they're like, yeah. So they're growing all their corn only to find out it's not viable. So now the farmer is either stuck to this seed crop company because now they can't harvest their own seeds and save at least what little money. What's that?
So soybeans?
It was with corn because it was really
Usually, soybeans farmers used to be able
yeah.
to save some for seed, but not with corn.
Yeah.
Didn't we
Okay.
watch a documentary with you on it?
I don't know. That's yeah.
I think it's both.
But
Okay. Well, take the buckets are not for giveaways, but you can look at the label. I would love to know what you think because it's all about trying to design labels that are attractive and people want to buy. But feel free to help yourself. Claudia will help. Who has chickens?
Does anybody have chickens?
Yeah. Or if you know somebody who has chickens. Yeah, we'll let you ask. So you have to report back to us. And let's
So, is a professor that,
oh,
it's
yeah.
Thanks for Anya.
What's that? Good job.